Okay, well, here we go then. So, thank you to everyone for coming out this afternoon for my Crivello Cameras Tamron webinar here today. We've got our personal rep, Steve Ostrander, here on the line with us also, if you have any questions today. But we've got our specialist, Janet, here, who's going to talk with us about Tamron lenses and Tamron macro lenses around the home is what I think you were talking about there. And yeah, we are all in this strange situation where we can't have the reps to the store like we used to currently. So we're trying to get creative and do something that's still kind of fun to allow everyone to interact with our reps and to learn more about photography and the photography topics that interest them. So I'm excited to sort of turn the mic here over to Janet and see what she has to share with us today. If you do have any questions as we go along, feel free to type them into the chat window, and we'll address any questions at the end of the talk. Okay, so without further delay, then Janet, over to you.
Great, thank you. Hello, everybody. Let me see. I'm supposed to share my screen, right?
Whenever you want.
Okay. Let's see. I'll do a quick intro. So hi, I'm Janet. I'm one of the tech team reps. Usually we would be traveling every week and visiting to, different parts of the country and doing these live in person. But since that is not doable at the moment, we are coming to you from our homes. And I have this little makeshift Tamron studio here where I've been doing weekly webinars and hosting them. And let me see here. I'm going to share my screen now. Okay. Good? Everybody's good still?
Mm-hmm.
Did I lose anybody?
Not to my awareness.
All right. Okay. So let's get to it. Yeah, so definitely since we've all been in this situation right now, we haven't been able to go out and shoot much. So I just called, how everybody's like, oh, we're all gonna be indoors, macro, the Netflix and chill, but I call this macro and chill because that's pretty much, all I can shoot around here. And, this is the perfect time to experiment. I will just say right off the bat, I am usually not a macro shooter and not an expert in it, but this has been fun and a fun experience.
Janet? Janet, you just went away on me there.
Here, we're going to start out with what exactly is macro photography. So here's a definition for it. So macro photography, there are different types. There's true macro, which is life size, obviously, and then you have close-up photography where let's say you take a telephoto lens, and what you do is you zoom in all the way, and then there's a certain distance according to the lens where you can stand the minimum focus distance and take a telemacro shot as well. So that's considered telemacro. And here is the kind of a visual for you to get an idea. So like our 90mm is a true life size 1:1 macro. So that's the ratios on the left, 1:1, and then 1:2 would be half of that, and 1:4, you get the idea, would be a quarter size of that. Another visual as well, again, to explain that, true macro versus close-up. Here are the different ratios. And to see that in actual photo visual, to get more of an idea of what macro photography is with the different ratios. Here's a 1:4, a 1:3, 1:2, and this is when you get to life size, 1:1. All right, so finding things to shoot around your home. So this has been my challenge since we've all been sheltered in place, hunkered down, whatever term you're calling it these days. And so right off the bat, my first thought is to start off with your common household items or that you might find. So coins are popular. Here's a quarter that I shot with a 90, and I just simply set it up. This is like one of the basic first shots that I started out taking a few weeks ago when we started all this. And the cork background is actually just my coaster. So it's just a cork coaster that I used to stand it up. And the white background was just like, it's just a piece of paper that I had. So these are just starting out what my challenges were when I first started out trying to figure out what to shoot around the house. So these are some basic shots. And so the main, I guess the outline for this webinar, how I set it up, is just the shots that I took. And I'm going to talk about why or how I got to them and the challenges of like setting it up and then taking almost hours to try to get the perfect shot, because when you're shooting up close, there's a lot of error that you can do, and just, you know, moving back and forth and, you know, moving the subject around, getting the lighting, trying different angles. You can easily spend hours just trying to figure out on little tiny objects to get your perfect shot. This shot was actually shot by one of my coworkers, and I had no idea that you could actually see the Lincoln in the sitting right there, the memorial. I had no idea, so I thought that was a pretty cool shot. So these are some common household items that normally people would start out with. So this is actually a bowl of oil and water. So I took a bowl of water, and you just put some drops of oil in there. And then for the background, what you can do is, since the bowl is a glass bowl, and you can either look up, if you have like colorful, like, what do you call it? Cardboard paper, colored cardboard paper, or I looked online for some other ideas, and I actually used my iPad, and you can download like, or just put like on different, just do a search for like different gradients, and then they'll show up, and then you just, you know, boost that up and put this under the bowl, and that it will be the colors for the background, so that you can do different gradients and colors, whatever colors you want to play around with. So that's why I did, because that way you'll have the light coming from the bottom. I boost this light all the way up, and then it'll shine from below, and that's how you get the details of the oil. So that I played around with. And this was actually a banana that I ate, and I was like, you know, let me try shooting that up close. So this is what came out of it. So I think it's kind of cool. It could be totally in an abstract photo. If I cropped it in probably at the right angle, it probably could be a cool abstract photo. So that's another idea of shooting. Maybe fruits and vegetables are, you know, a common item to try experiment with when you're starting out with macro. This is actually, so one of my latest hobbies is I hand feed hummingbirds. So I have a great balcony. I live up in these hills, so there's so many birds around. And so I have a hummingbird feeder. This is a handheld hummingbird feeder. And what I do is I will shoot them now. And that's what's been my project. So this is actually not this is an example of a telemacro photo, because this was actually shot with the 150 to 600 up close. Like I was just only standing like 7 feet away. And this is actually my feeder. I'm looking at right now outside my balcony. And this little guy, he visits me every day, and he's been my isolation buddy. This is him again, and it's just been such a joy, because I should have put a video up, but I have so many videos of myself hand feeding them from this little hand feeder, and they'll fly up to it, and they'll sit on my finger, and they'll feed out of it. I'm working on getting a type shot of that. So, so these are my little projects at home. Oh, this is the setup. So this is my balcony, and I had to get a step stool because my feeder is hanging. So I kind of want to be on the same level. So this is the 150-600, and I had no idea that I could stand that close with it. In this case, I think originally I was going to get the 100-400, but mine is actually out of service right now. So I pulled out the 150-600. and did a telemacro shot. And that's what I got of these little guys, and I'm quite happy with them. Oh, another, these are little, if for those of you who have families and kids, I'm sure you have Legos around somewhere. So these aren't mine, but I know some of my other friends have plenty of Legos sitting around, and so these were hers. And what you can do is like set up little scenes. Those are little fairy lights in the background, and just set up different scenes, have the lights, you know, kind of in a like nice bokeh or something. And also, this is one of my favorites. Like my coworker shot this with Wonder Woman. She set up, I don't know what she set it up on, but that's pretty cool to set up your own scene and shoot a macro of it. So definitely that'd be fun with those of you, you know, stuck at home with your kids. You know, it'd be a fun project to do. Keys or anything that you have lots of junk just laying around, just put like some of the same ones all together, whether it be keys or paper clips. If you have like, you know, I have like some of those butterfly paper clips and put a whole bunch of those together, or just a bundle of strings or anything, just to play with textures and make something abstract out of it as well. Oh, another fun project. If you're, I know it's not nowhere near the holidays yet, but you can definitely whip out maybe your ornaments and try and play around with. This was actually taken during, I took this during this past holiday for another presentation talking about how to take holiday photos. And this was actually a macro shot, and kind of get an example of getting ahead. I guess you can think ahead now for the holidays. If so, those of you like to make your own Christmas cards, this would be an example. This was like a tiny little elf on the shelf. It was like really small. And I set them up with this. And I had like those holiday Hershey Kisses at the time, which I still have actually. Oh, this was the setup. So that's actually my nightstand. And the background was just a Westcott. I have a Westcott X drop. These aren't X drops, and it was a matte black, and I hung the fairy lights on the backdrop from at a distance. And this was the cup of the elf. Well, it's a different shot, but the lights in the back are the same as this one. But this was a different shot. And yeah, that was the setup. It's stuff you can easily play around with if you have fairy lights or other lights. It doesn't have to be fairy lights. This is an example of getting ahead, thinking ahead, and making that Christmas card. This was shot of an order, actually, and this was not even my own tree. It was like somebody else's tree. I just was shooting it as an example to show that you can make your own Christmas cards. And this was, I believe, was shot with the 7200. Again, to do this, you zoom all the way in and get as close as you can. Then my next projects at home here were to maybe try to play around and try to do some product shots. I never attempted to do any type of product photography. And I figured I got the inspiration from another photographer friend who was taking this time to dabble into product photography as well. So I was like, oh, you know, let me try just using some household items to try and make them look like, you know, product shots, or coming up with different angles for other ideas for the future. So I set this up again. I use I think it was, that background is, I think it's just like I'm trying to remember. I believe it was just a like one of those light bouncers, reflectors, but I used a flash and I lit it, just the background. And then this was shot with a 90. I try to get as close as possible to this tape measure. That's what it is. So I don't know, that sounds kind of cool. Like my first attempt at product photography while here at home. And then I started playing with knives. Because I saw another person doing product photography, and his project was to showcase silverware in an abstract way. So I was testing it out myself. So this was my first shot. And then I turned it to the side and did like more of an abstract look, like just showing the serrations of the knife and just, you know, blacking out the whole knife, but I mean, you still see it. So, I mean, that's kind of macro photography. You take like what could be the ordinary thing, but you can turn it into something else and or make it more abstract. And again, this is another example where just an ordinary everyday item. I don't know where it is, but it's I'm not gonna tell you what it is yet, but oh, what did I do? Do you see that, Troy?
I do. Somehow you brought your slides up on the side there.
Oops.
And now they're gone.
Okay. So this, I was trying to use this item. I'll show you in a bit what it is. I was trying to make it look like a unique plant or some weird, odd alien plant. And I, again, using the 90, and obviously when you're this close, which this was a challenge for me. I think a lot of people, I hear this from a lot of people, when you get so close, you lose that focus, or if you're moving, you're breathing, and you're losing the slightest move, you're out of focus, right? So what I did is I set my, the lens of 90 to manual focus, and I got as close as I can, that where you manual focus to different areas or to the spot that you want, or if once something is in focus, then I just leave it there. And then what I'll do is I'll physically move myself. Like I'll just go in, or just the slightest inching in or out, not even an inch, but like just moving slightly. And then you'll see the different focuses come into focus or out of focus. And then you just take a few shots and see which one you like the most. So this was one. This is another one where I'm like, I think, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm moving back and forth. There's different focus points. And it's not auto-focusing. I'm just using myself as the focuser. So like I set it, and then I moved in and out slightly just to see which variations I liked. I couldn't quite decide which ones, but I kind of like this one just because you can't quite tell what it is. And actually, it was actually dirty. It was like so dusty. I was trying to rinse it. And then when I rinsed it, then it added like these little drops in there. So it looks like it's dewdrops, and the dust looks like little spider webs when it's really dust. So, so that was what I was trying to do with this. And then actually, so this is what it is. It's actually a ring.
Oh, wow.
So it's actually a little, I don't know, I call it a raver ring because it actually lights up, and it's a jelly like, and that's what came out of that. And this was the setup. So again, on my nightstand, I have my little coaster, and I'll show you what a ring is, but that was the ring. So I set it, and I had to use like a little, for the light, if you go back and see the light in the background is just from this little tiny little LED light I have that someone gave me. So that just came from that. So those are some things I've been playing around with, trying to figure out stuff to shoot around at home. And so now I'm going to dig into some archives that I've done in the past and that I look through because I've had all the time in the world to go through my SD cards that have been living inside my cameras and finally dump them onto my computer. So here we go. This is a butterfly shot a couple years ago, I believe, and here, because the Los Angeles Natural History Museum has this butterfly exhibit every year. Probably not this year though, and for obvious reasons. So it's cool because you get to walk into this open atrium, and it's open, and they'll fly everywhere, and you just go up and take pictures. And I went there and tried to practice taking butterfly shots. And these are some that I took at that time. I had never taken butterfly shots before too, so this was my first time. There's an example actually of the telemacro shot with the 18-400, which is one of my favorite lenses actually. It's very versatile. As you can see, the range is from 18 to 400. And this is to do telemacro on the 18 to 400. Again, zoom all the way out to 400 and get as close as you can. In this case, I believe it's up to, I think, 17 inches away. Yeah. And
Janet?
and the, well, late 150, 600 on my hummingbirds. 35, 150 also does a telemacro shot. Oh, sorry, the hummingbird just came up to my face. But so this is a dandelion shot. Again, I was testing out the 35 to 150 at the time. And again, shot zooming all the way in. Gosh, I wish I could show like the hummingbirds like right there. Plants, again, you can try abstracts. It's really popular. I like abstracts actually, and just a simple leaf of your plant. If you have plants around or going outside in your backyard, or if you're taking a walk on a hike, just look for either big leaves or anything that has different kind of, I've seen like those plants like they kind of coil, their leaves kind of coil. That's kind of cool. Again, this was shot with 18 to 400, which was again telemacro. This flower is like really, it was so tiny, and it's just amazing how, like with the 18 to 400, I have the ability to go from shooting all these scenarios, and it kind of acts as a double duty with the telemacro on the go. Yeah, you can do everything in that lens. This one, it's actually one of my favorite shots because I think it's the very first shot I shot with the 90, and we're at the LA Zoo, and they had these yellow-bearded dragons out to pet, and I don't know, I've never seen one up close, so I was like, I'm going to try to take some shots of it because I don't know when I'll see one again up close. So this is one of my favorite shots. I've actually used this as one of my desktops too, desktop wallpapers. I mean, that's all I got for you guys. I hope you are inspired, or think of things to shoot around your house. And if you have any other ideas for me to try, definitely let me know. I think we're going to open it up for a little Q&A right now, right?
Mm-hmm. That is correct. You want to stop sharing your screen for the moment?
Oh yeah. Let me see.
And we could see everybody there then who wants to be seen.
It's fine. I can still see everybody. It's in a little box. I didn't close it.
Okay. And I did there.
Okay. There you go.
There we go. So I'd already seen a couple questions in the chat there just regarding tripod usage. With most of the stuff that you were showing us, were you employing a tripod? Do you think it's absolutely necessary to have a tripod for close-up work?
I know some people do. I think because my style, I mean, it's really a personal preference. I know some people do, some don't. And my style is I haven't used a tripod in a long time unless it's something really epic. Like, I don't know. I think the only thing I can think of I would use a tripod is like if I'm shooting surfers out and, using the big lens that I need to have it steady or something like that. For stuff like this, because I'm indoors and I kind of have a pretty steady hand. And also, I don't know, I mean, the 90 has a great vibration compensation mechanism, technology in it. So I don't know, I just trusted it. And plus, I'm more of a freestyler shooter. So I kind of use my own body to move around. Mm-hmm. So I think I'm just used to it. But I'm not against using the tripod. I think the one that I did use a tripod on was the ones when I did the little elf on a shelf and all that stuff. Yeah, mm-hmm. I did use a tripod for that.
So then, well, I know when you are working close up like this, the depth of field becomes so narrow, and that's why I think most people do defer to using a tripod, because they don't want to risk, getting the wrong thing sharp in the picture. So I do see somebody asking here about, what your average shutter speed might be. Do you know off the top of your head what your shutter speed range tended to be?
With the 90s, gosh, what was it? trying to think off the top of my head. I think with the 90, the mostly up close was around, I want to say, I don't think it's any more than 100.
No faster than 100th of a second?
Not with the little objects that I shot, but like definitely with the hummingbird. I mean, that was like that was outdoors. That was like 1,000 or 1/2000 of a second.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Um, I do see someone else mention the concept of what was it here with like the elf shots in particular, and a couple of times you mentioned doing some sort of lighting. Besides using like the fairy lights you mentioned, what sort of lighting, what sort of things do you use for lighting? Anything like actual photo lights or just anything you can find around the house?
Oh, well, since the objects in my let me try and think remember. I know I showed the setup that I did with the little jelly ring. So that was just this little light because I knew that I didn't want too much. I just wanted to highlight a little bit because I didn't want to show what it actually was. So I just did some little rim light with that one.
Mhm.
The product shots, like the tape measure, I actually did use an external flash on off-camera flash.
Okay.
So I just use my off-camera flash for the product shots. I think just to light up the background of that, just to see the background of that.
Okay.
Um, I can't. Oh, no, I can't go back to that. Okay, no worries.
And someone had asked specifically about the like the elf shot, where it looked like you were lighting the background possibly on that. But what did you use to light the elf itself?
Oh, actually, I set up because I have like this huge balcony door, so they're floor to ceiling. So I actually just faced that little nightstand facing towards the window, so that was all natural light coming from the front, and the fairy lights were hanging in the back. Um, for the product shots, though, I did have the same setup where it's facing the natural light from the window straight on, and then I think because using the off-camera flash, I had it flash the background, and then the flash on the actual camera was actually stopped down a little bit just to kind of brighten it a little bit. That's all.
Okay. Okay. Very cool. Again, then I see somebody else mentioned the concept of focus stacking. I know that's a technique that I haven't worked with at all yet.
I haven't either. I'm aware of it. I've heard of it. It's like the latest thing now. I guess people are trying.
Yeah.
I haven't tried it just because usually on the road I really don't have time to do much post processing,
Okay.
so I haven't tried it at all. But I heard it's pretty a cool technique.
Yeah, a neat way to extend the depth of field in a macro shot. So I get it, but yeah, myself, I haven't been able to play around with it yet either. So unfortunately, does anyone else have any other questions or things that
Well,
you?
I want to
Oh yeah,
chime in here for a second. One of the questions, and you were talking a little bit about shutter speeds and asking about one of the questions was specifically about getting flowers to freeze so you don't get any blur. Now you can use shutter speeds obviously to stop the action, but if you don't want to do that or aren't able to do that, there are some tricks that macro photographers use in order to freeze flowers, like using a clip, maybe clipping it to something else so that it
Yeah, I
won't
saw that.
move.
I saw
Uh,
that too.
so there's lots of little tricks about things to help you enhance. So Janet mentioned the thing about using a reflector in the back. If you don't want distractions behind your subject or you want a different background, take a reflector with you, especially if it's something like a 5-in-1 reflector that has a variety of different colors to it. So you can almost make up your own kits with all these little tools, little mister, a bottle with some water in it to put fake rain on top, and things like clips and things to keep things from moving so you can manipulate the scene. But you just have to be careful of doing that. Obviously, you can do it fine in your backyard, but don't go to a botanical garden and start setting up and doing those things. You're going to get kicked out in a hurry.
Yeah, I've seen people. I was gonna try and do that too, but I don't have the little clips. Those they call them, I think, alligator clips, to hold like little branches or little stems of flowers, so that you can manipulate it. And I wanted to try that, and I just haven't had the chance. I don't have any flowers here yet or clips. And I saw another one that was cool. Like if you have, which I wanted to try too. Like if you have like those. Some people have like those big mineral rocks, and you just put that as the background for something, and with the flower, and then you just light that rock, because you'll see all the sparkles from the rock or the mineral rock, or even like I guess those salt rocks that they sell, like those rock plants or something.
Yeah.
Use your imagination. Amazing what you can come up with.
Well, can I just throw a question out to everyone else who is here, and to say, like, what is the range of experiences that we've got here? Have many of you done much in the way of close-up photography to this point? And answer in the chat there if you could. And I do see another question in the chat as well. Are there any macro photographers that Janet or Steve, that you guys are aware of that that you can recommend to our people here today?
Oh yes, because this, I mean, some of the ideas I got, gosh, it was this guy, I can't remember his name, because I looked him up on online, and he did some sort of an interview with one of the, I think either f-stoppers or DP reviewers, and on macro. And that's how I got some of the ideas.
Okay.
I can't remember. I think if you just Google macro photography and either DP, I think it's DP review.
One of my favorites that has worked with Tamron for a long time is David Guy Maynard. David Maynard is, he takes a lot of variety. He takes portrait stuff, but he's also an excellent macro photographer. He likes taking pictures of bugs. You'll see him post things on his website about, pictures of like the eyes of spiders and the antennas on bees, and he gets into some work, and he's really good at what he does, but he specializes in a variety of things, but macro is one of them. So I would look him up.
Okay, cool. Thank you both very much there. Janet, can you see the chat there going on the side? We do have some responses about what our folks here have been into lately here.
I just opened it.
Some good stuff.
I didn't realize I could see it. Well, I couldn't see it during the.
Right, you can't see it in the presentation.
Yeah. Oh, cool, nice.
Very cool. Yes, and
I haven't played with extension tubes. Yeah, I know my coworker Jillian. She's our macro guru. Actually, she does a lot of different experiments with macro.
Very, very cool. Yeah, it looks like a lot of great outdoor shooters here. And yeah, I see Alex, you shared your Instagram handle here. If anyone is on Instagram and wants us to check them out, feel free to leave your handle in the chat there as well, and we will check that out. Thank you. Heck yeah. Very cool.
Well, I believe we do have some great rebates going on, right, Steve?
Yeah, actually we do. We have one of the things that we do usually we have some type of specials going on year round, but they vary. They change every month or two. But we do currently have some instant savings on a variety of Tamron lenses, some of the most popular things actually. And those can be up to $200 in instant savings right now. And in addition to that, there are some of the lenses that have free circular polarizers, which again, if you're into doing outdoor photography, is a great thing to have. And it's the highest end circular polarizer. These are typically $150, $160 circular polarizers that you can get absolutely free when you buy certain lenses. But Troy or the staff at Crivello would have all the details on that. You can check in with them. But if there's anything you want, they can get it for you. They do have somebody there on certain days and certain hours that Troy can tell you about that can help you with your questions. If you do need to buy anything, they are open. We encourage you to please support your local camera stores so that they can stay in business, just like everybody is struggling a little bit. Let's try to keep them going. So, and then, you know, that, like I say, they change from time to time. We'll have some additional things. Just check out the Tamron website when you get a chance, tamron-usa.com, and all the specials are listed there. The only thing you won't see is you won't see the Sakura polarizer promotion. That's something that's not done at all stores. It's unique to our pro dealers. So
Very cool. Thank you. Yeah, you know, a lot of times too, we do hear people at the store talk about, you know, how much they love photography naturally, but then also how much they like manipulating their photos or in their post-production and things like that. But as Steve was just talking about how you can get a free polarizer with certain lenses, that is one thing that you just can't do in post-production. You know, if you want to polarize your light, you've got to do it at capture. So getting a free high-end circular polarizer in your camera bag is a pretty attractive offer. So definitely look into that. If any of you are looking into specific Tamron lenses that you're interested in getting from us at the store, please do shoot us a message through any of our social media accounts. We'll definitely get back to you as quick as we can. And if we don't have the lens that you want in stock, well then, you know, we'll get in touch with Steve and get that lens for you as quickly as we possibly can. It's what we're here for. Any final comments there then, Janet or Steve, before we close out our meeting for the day here?
No, thank you. It's definitely, it's been a tough few weeks adjusting to everything, and but this has been fun just to like get some sort of, just to see people and talk to people, even though I can't hear anybody, but it just feels great to like just to talk.
just thank you everybody for coming out.
Yeah,
And,
thank you very much,
we'll see you
everybody.
soon.
Yes, and we'll see you online, and we'll see you at the store, hopefully in the near future.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.